Welcome guys, Charles Salbox here. So in today's video, as the thumbnail said, we are going to be focusing on the most important punch in boxing, if I can say it, the jab. So you guys need to understand that the jab is so important. It needs to be in your toolkit, and I'm going to show you how to place it there with confidence. Okay guys, so just before we begin, my team and I have been working on a Salbox formula especially designed for women. It's called Unleash the Thrill of Aggression. As a special Christmas present, a massive thank you to all the women who follow me on my Instagram and YouTube channels, and for the men who have women in their lives, I've produced a free mini course. Yes, it's completely free. All you have to do is click the link below, and if you're a guy, you can add this to your stocking fillers for the ladies in your life. So your mom, your wife, your girlfriend, hopefully not both, your daughter and your sister. I have the full Unleash the Thrill of Aggression Salbox course dropping in New Year, but in the meantime, this mini course will have you floating through the Christmas season, ladies. It will set you up for a great start to the new year, help you release tension and stress, get those sexy vibes going, because that's what we do, and also help you to regulate your emotions. So just pause the video right now, click on the link below, and download your free Unleash the Thrill of Aggression mini course. Don't worry, I'll wait for you, because I know you'll love it and get the most from it. Okay, done? Right, let's get back to the video. Okay guys, so the most important punch, the jab. The first thing that we want to do is understand why we want to use the jab. So essentially the purpose. Now, the first reason that we want to use the jab is as a point scoring punch. Now, the jab is going to be a fast, sharp, snappy punch. So this will allow us to point score. The second reason is to understand distance. So when we're at range, we want to use the jab as a range finder. The next reason is to maintain that distance. If we're using the jab frequently enough, that will keep our opponent at bay. And the fourth reason is to establish a way to bring in other punches, so to set up our other punches for combinations. So the fifth reason would be for more of a tactical use, as maybe elite boxers would use, is to offset their opponent. So once you are able to maintain distance, you might also want to offset. So every time your opponent tries to establish their ground or their footing, use your jab and offset their position. Okay guys, so because the jab is the most frequently used punch, sometimes it can be used incorrectly. Now, I want to draw on some of the problems associated with the jab. The first thing I see boxers commonly doing with the jab is to use it as a power punch. Now, the bag is where you see boxers developing this habit. So whenever you see a boxer using their jab consistently as a power punch on the bag, try to stop them. Try to get them to use the jab in a more frequent use and lighter but sharper. The second problem I see with the jab is the telegraphing. Sometimes because a boxer might want to develop more power in his punch, he would withdraw the punch and then throw the punch. The act of withdrawing the punch shows your opponent that you're trying to use the punch. The third problem that I see with boxers using the jab is that they tend to drop the hands or actually withdraw the right hand in a bow and arrow fashion. So sometimes the act of using the jab can cause your hands to be displaced. Your right hand and also your lead hand. Dropping the lead hand and withdrawing the right hand. Now, the next problem that I see often with the jab is the fact that boxers tend to bring their hands too far back to their face, and then this limits the responsibility of the lead hand to solely defense. You want to understand that when you're in the boxing stance, the lead hand has the responsibility of attack and defense. If you bring the lead hand back too close to your face, then it becomes only defense and it loses the ability for attack. Okay guys, and the final problem that I see with the jab, it involves telegraphing, but it's more of a technical issue, is when the elbows flare out to the side. Now this is a common problem where boxers don't actually understand that this can limit their range, and at the beginning of learning how to throw the jab, they're not taught that the elbow needs to extend up and not to the side. Okay guys, so the first thing that we want to do is understand now the technique of the jab. Now, the first element that I'm going to bring in is the boxing stance. So the base from which you are throwing the jab. That has a specific alignment that you need to follow, and this is why the boxing stance should be specific. It shouldn't be you go to one club, you do the boxing stance like this, you go to another club, you do the boxing stance like that. So what we want to do is have more of the weight on the back foot. Okay, we're going to raise the heel on the back foot. As you can see, my weight transfer is such that I'm further away from my lead foot than my rear foot. I'm closer to my rear foot. Now my chin goes down, okay? And then with respect to my feet, you can see that my front toe aligns with my back heel. I have my lead foot in between 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock. And then my rear foot is not parallel, but it's between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Now my hip slightly lowered and both knees are bent. Obviously the heel at the back is slightly raised. I rotate my hip. My lead hand comes out in front like this, and my lead hand is slightly bent. You can see that it's not straight, slightly bent. I don't want to make contact with the phalanges at the front here. What I want to do is make contact with the knuckles. Okay, so that's why I have a slight bend in my wrist. That goes right in front of my face. So I use it like an iron sight. I don't know if some of you guys play Call of Duty or whatever it is, but yeah, use your knuckles as an iron sight. Now, the elbows slightly have some distance in between the torso, and then the rear elbow is positioned in a way where it's fixed to the body. There's a slight bend in the wrist here, and then you are touching the side of your chin, which should be lowered down into your chest, covered by your shoulder, but you have the true alignment with your eyes and your knuckles like that. And this is the boxing stance from which you need to throw your jab. Okay, the next thing that you want to have in mind is the weight transfer. Now the weight transfer begins from the rear foot pushing your body forward slightly towards your lead foot. This is how you develop a bit of momentum. Okay, so once you're developing that momentum, your arm can now propel itself off your body weight, or it can be extending with your body weight. If the jab extends with that motion, then you have a strong punch. But if you are propelling your arm off the momentum that your body carries like that, then it's going to be more of a powerful punch. This is how you want to understand whether you're pushing your opponent back or whether you are scoring a point from far and then you're propelling yourself towards your opponent. Okay, obviously one will be slightly faster, the powerful shot will be faster, but that is more to do with the mechanics of the punch. So what we want to do is understand that we have weight transfer by the rear foot, pushing ourselves closer to our lead foot, and that is one part of the mechanics associated with the jab. You can see that my head approaches my lead foot. It doesn't go beyond, but it approaches. Now the second thing that we want to do with that translation, we want rotation. So we're going to bring our shoulder towards our lead foot. Okay, now that is the second element. So what we're doing with our body. The next thing is the arm. Okay, now from the front, what we want to do is not bring the elbows out to the side. What we want to do is actually bring our arm up in this motion. Okay, I haven't spoken about the wrist yet. This is the arm movement that we want. So we want this motion from the boxing stance. Okay, just that motion there. This ensures that our elbows not flaring out to the side. Okay, so I'm just going to show you here. So this is what we want to do now with our wrist. We want to consider what our wrist does for the jab, okay? So when we're in this position, our boxing stance, what we want to do is generate the weight transfer from the back foot. So we translate forward with the rotation. We extend our arm. Remember, the range of the punch is what we want to maximize. And as we do that, we want to rotate the wrist. Okay, so we have this motion now that we apply. So all we're doing, we're rotating the wrist along the extension of our arm. So there, there, there. And in this position, again, we know that we're using the knuckles as an iron sight. And then when we extend, we have this form for our jab. And this will ensure that we're not flaring our elbows to the side, which would often telegraph the punch. This will give our opponent some information about what we're intending to do. So when our elbow goes up and then we rotate, this gives our opponent little signal as to what we're doing with the jab, okay? And that is essentially the technique of the stationary jab. Okay guys, so I've just shown you the stationary jab. Now when we want to bring in more footwork and understand how this footwork allows us to specify the jab for a specific situation, we're thinking more tactically. Now from the stationary jab, just doing this and making sure we have the correct alignment, body position, and body mechanics. We now want to extend this beyond that simple movement. We want to step forward. So this is going to be the jab we apply a specific amount of range to, and it sets us up for counterattacks. So we're in this position, there. As you can see, I've just propelled my body forward with the back foot and then extended the lead hand. Now this jab is important because when we're trying to get a bit of range and then come back to the original position, it allows us to be ready for a counterattack from the stationary position that we threw the first jab from. So what you want to do is fit this into a drill. You want to take a step to the side, then perform the counterattack jab or the step jab. Take a step to the side, and that should help you along your way. Okay guys, so the next jab that we want to do is move both feet forward. This is going to allow us to become more aggressive with our opponent, and also tactically it allows us to cut the distance. So take up the real estate in front of our opponent. So we're in this position, and then with the back foot we propel. We don't step, we propel ourselves. Okay, again a demonstration from the front. And then from the side. Now this jab is good because it allows us to close the distance on our opponent, and also it allows us to push our opponent back. If we move both feet forward towards our opponent, this is when we are being aggressive. So you want to try this jab in a specific drill where you step to the side, push forward, and then think about the exit, because you're going to be directly in front of your opponent. So you can roll out, or you can step to the side. And I'm moving to the right because I'm thinking about exiting from an orthodox opponent. If it was a southpaw, I could take the jab and then I could pivot out to this side, okay? That should set you along your way as well. Okay guys, so another scenario, which is actually two specific scenarios, but we'll just fuse them into one, is when you're dealing with either a southpaw or an orthodox boxer. So what is interesting about this with the jab is that what you want to do is jab in a particular direction that takes you to their blind side. I want to focus on the jab that coordinates my lead hand with my lead foot to movement. So I don't want to go forward, I want to go in the lateral direction. So I want to move left. So as I'm drilling this, what I want to do, step to the left and then throw my jab. Okay, step to the left and then throw my jab. In real time, it will look more like this. Okay, I'm moving, circling to my left against the southpaw. Now, against the orthodox boxer, what I want to do is step to the right and then perform the jab. So I coordinate my lead hand to my right foot step. Boom, boom. Okay, now, so because the orthodox boxer's lead hand is on my right side, I want to maybe even add a slip to that movement. So when I'm throwing a jab, slip, slip. Okay, I want to take my head out to the right with a push. Okay, now I want you to try and focus on specifying your jab to either the situation of an orthodox boxer or a southpaw, so that you're able to deal with that opponent when you come up against them in sparring. Don't get into the situation of facing a southpaw and not drilling the moves. So the next part would be your visualization. When you are performing your shadow boxing, think to yourself, is it a southpaw I'm fighting against, or is it an orthodox boxer? If it's a southpaw, I need to move to my left to drill. If it's against an orthodox boxer, I need to move to my right. Okay guys, so that is the close of the tactical section that I want you to focus on for your jab. Okay guys, so we've come to the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed the content. Obviously today we focused on the jab. I've gone through a few things to do with the alignment of the body, the mechanics, the rotations involved, but please let me know in the comments if you feel that I've left something out that might be valuable to someone else watching the video and might even peer down into the comment section. Now, I want you to share the video to someone who might be at your club struggling with the jab, and also like the video if you've enjoyed watching me, only joking. So until my next video, I'll see you guys soon. Bye.